Joseph says, for a short term, bring in Simon Murray and Stuart Armstrong. Good midfielder, makes Celtic stronger. And there's a wee bit of Celtic transfer news, Keith, today that I think I can touch on.
Yeah. We've got to talk about Nikico Seigur.
Nikico Seigur, Canadian right back or defensive midfielder. You can tell us a wee bit more. I think about it. I think it's meant to have been one of Wilfred Nancy's picks.
Well, that seems to be the word around this. Apparently, Celtic have pretty much got a deal arranged and agreed with Hajduk Split. It's Hajduk Split, isn't it? I'm right there.
Yep.
But apparently it's been placed on hold over the course of the last 24 hours. Now, that would tie into some of the stuff that we were hearing from Martin O'Neill's press conference yesterday, where he said, whatever happens now, there was one in the door that obviously he had nothing to do with. Any signings from this point onwards, Martin O'Neill will need to give it his personal seal of approval and blessing. So I think Celtic had moved this one forward to a point where it's just about ready for completion. I would imagine if there's some sort of stalling issue now, it'll need to be because Martin O'Neill will need to be very sure that this is a player that he wants before he tells Celtic to press ahead with it. So that's interesting. Purely from the point of what we were talking about yesterday. Can Celtic tie themselves into a transfer window which has been designed by Tisdale and Wilfred Nancy? That would seem like a very bad idea.
No, and look, I know they need players all over the pitch, but I mean, Paul Brady is one of a few people in the comments. Still no striker talk for Celtic. Keith,
that's a bad one.
How have they not got the striker? Should have been in January 1st.
They've had 12 months now.
It's 12 months. It's mad.
This is the third window, 12 months, and still no striker. You're absolutely right. And by the way, let's not get it. No, let's not be in any doubt about this. It's not as if anybody at Celtic is expecting them to go down and get Ekitike for Liverpool or whoever. We know where Scottish football is at. Mm-hmm. We know that if Celtic are going to get a striker, it's probably going to be a guy that's fallen out the picture a little bit at his club. And we're talking about top material here. We're not talking about potential 20-year-olds that could be the next big thing. I think Martin O'Neill, and if you look at how he built Celtic first time round with guys like Chris Sutton, Henrik Larsson, John Hartson, and now Larsson was already at the club, but there was 5 million and 6 million spent on the likes of Sutton and Hartson. I think that Martin O'Neill would be really pushing for that level of investment and that level of player, that profile of player. A guy, might be out of luck down south, and I think both John Hartson and Chris Sutton had fallen out of the picture at their clubs at Chelsea and West Ham respectively, but they were established Premier League performers, top-level performers, who Celtic were able to take at a low point in their career and give them a reinvention, a new platform. That's what Martin O'Neill did then. I would imagine that's what Martin O'Neill wants to do now. They've had plenty of time to line up, potential targets, guys that are proven, guys that can lead the line, guys that almost guarantee 20 goals between now and the end of the season, which, by the way, will probably be enough if Celtic can get a striker of that quality to win the title and maybe the Scottish Cup into the bargain. So for us to be sitting here, more than a week now after the window opened, and for Celtic to not even be apparently close to getting something tied down on a striker, that's a concern. It's a huge concern. It tells me that somebody's not doing their job.
In the comments, Marty says Giakoumakis done an interview saying he would go back and the deal just fell through at another club. And I should say, I think that interview was with Record Sports' Ryan McDonald, who we'll be hearing from a little bit later on. Daz says Lyndon Dykes is Sutton-esque, right up Martin O'Neill's street. I know you were talking about him last night.
I agreed with one of the guys that said that last night. I'm not saying that Lyndon Dykes, by the way, should be the top of Celtic's priority list. Mm-hmm. But if Lyndon Dykes is available, I think Martin O'Neill would like him. I think he'd do a really good job for anybody in the SPFL in the Premiership, whether that's Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, whoever you like, Motherwell. I think Lyndon Dykes is a guy, and because the World Cup coming up, and because he's not been getting as much football, I think it would really put him in the shop window for Steve Clarke. I see so much sense in somebody in the Premier League, Scottish Premier League, taking taking a punt on Lyndon Dykes January. Absolutely. And by the way, if Celtic were to bring him in, plus another striker, well, there's all the firepower you're going to need.
Aye. Well, I mean, look, without being disrespectful as well, who would you rather go into a title run-in with up front? Johnny Kenny or Lyndon Dykes? It's pretty easy.
Lyndon Dykes is a better football player than a lot of people give him credit for.
Aye.
He's also a proper unit, puts himself about, would add physicality to the Celtic side, which isn't there just now. I just think that a lot of people look at Lyndon Dykes and they don't see what a very good football player he is in terms of his hold-up play, his ability to bring others into the game. I know everybody points to his scoring record, but you put him in a team that creates as many chances as Celtic do, you soon see a vast improvement in his goals return.
There's been other. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
no, I mean, as I said, that's twice now. A couple of our guys have mentioned it, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying that this is what Celtic will do, but if people are suggesting it, I can't disagree.
There's a couple other names that have been bandied about. Kyogo is one. Callum Wilson was another one I saw yesterday. But just to finish on the Celtic transfer talk, Ross, he comes up with a name that I would go for. Kieron Bowie, surely. Celtic asked the question and go and get the boy. Hibs fans won't like me for saying it, but if I was Celtic, I'd be taking a strong look and finding out how much it would cost to prize him away from Easter Road.
I like Kieron Bowie, and I think that he's got a big future in front of him. But I'm not sure at this young stage in his development you want to be pinning your title hopes on him. I think that might be a big ask. He struggled for form. He hit the ground running at the start of the season. He was on fire. But then once he got into the Scotland squad and he was getting rave reviews, his form has suffered for it. And I'm not sure. I think what Celtic need is an absolute banker in this transfer window. A guy that Martin O'Neill can be absolutely assured will walk into his first team and start scoring goals from day one, pretty much. Kieron Bowie is a player who is I think, still in development, the development kind of stage of his career. That's not who you pin your title hopes on. I don't think that would be fair. And you could do him actually a lot of damage if it wasn't to go well.
Right, that's fair comment.
So I'm not with that one. I think Lyndon Dykes and Kieron Bowie would be a hell of a partnership.
That would terrify some defences.